For this module, we're going to be talking about the introduction to multimedia. So what is digital multimedia? Digital multimedia is the development, integration, and delivery of text, image, audio, and video files through a digital processing device. So usually in multimedia, you're going to have multiple of these types of digital files being used. It's delivered to the user by electronic or digitally manipulated means, which means that you're going to use multimedia through things like computers, tablets, smartphones, and PDAs. You can also include televisions in this now. Okay, so why multimedia? So multimedia allows a company, a product, a marketer to touch on a lot of different areas depending on how the viewers are going to be able to relate to it. Since we have different types of learning styles, multimedia allows you to address at least two or all three of these. So it can touch on visual learning, auditory learning, as well as kinetics. So from an old Chinese proverb is the saying, "Tell me and I will forget." We know that from research, people recall about 20% of what they see. Show me and I may remember. People recall 40% of what they see and hear. Involve me and I will understand. People recall 70% of what they see, hear, and do. For example, one of the best ways to study and listen in class, especially in like lecture classes, is one of the reasons that teachers have you take notes. But outside of that, it's not even about the actual note taking. Just by creating doodles while somebody is talking and you're listening to them, you are more likely to remember what the speaker is saying. So types of interaction. The first type of interaction is non-interactive multimedia. This is when the user is going to have no control over the flow of information. So think of things like movies, information kiosks, PowerPoint presentations. I always think of the commercials at the beginning of when you go to see a movie in a movie theater and they have little quizzes. They're trying to get you to interact, but you're not actually having full interaction with the multimedia. Interactive multimedia, in other words, is going to be when the user controls the flow of information. So through menu selections, buttons to advance, clickable objects, or the use of hyperlinks even. File management plays a huge part in digital media because of the fact that you're going to be having so many different types of files and you're having to use so many different types of programs while creating this multimedia. First off, you need to know how to manage your files. So naming files becomes a big part of working in multimedia. You need to create a naming convention that makes a set of rules in naming your files and folders. You want to choose a name that clearly identifies the contents of the file. For shared files, use initials or numbering method to clarify versions. For example, in most of my classes, especially when you're taking one of my program classes, I'll have you name your files with your last name underscore and then whatever the project is. That way it makes it easier if you go to search for it. They also recommend that the names be a little bit longer instead of just final 1, final 2, final 3. Actually clarify what program you're using or what project you're working on so that you will be able to identify it a lot easier if you go back and look for it. Also make sure you're using things like initials or numbering whenever you're going to have multiple versions of the same thing. So if you're doing a Photoshop final and you call it Photoshop Final 1 and then you make changes to it and you want to save that original one still, you can name the new one Photoshop Final 2. Okay, whenever you're saving files, you need to designate a place to save the project files to. You want to make sure that you have a file for each of your classes or each of your projects that you are working on so that you can easily go into that area to find things. Managing files. You need to choose your storage. So one of the easiest ways now to save any of, to create storage for whatever you're saving is to use a cloud-based server that you can store files onto. For example, if you're working with programs like Word and any of the Microsoft, you can save into their cloud that they have now called OneDrive. Adobe also supports a cloud-based server where you can save files to. If you're not comfortable saving on a cloud or you do not always have access to it, you can use things like either external or internal hard drives, as well as flash drives. Flash drives are the small ones that you can carry around with you, which makes it a lot easier to access your files when needed. You need to make sure you're backing up your work to prevent losing files. So you can do this through using one of those external hard drives or internal hard drives, as well as using through a cloud system to be able to save all of your work. You should make sure that you're backing up your work on a regular basis as well. Security. First of all, you need to focus on personal security that you're whenever you're working on a computer. So a cyber predator is a person who uses the internet to make sure or to make contact with others in order to harm them. Stealing someone's information to use for illegal purposes is identity theft. Social engineering scams tricks users into providing information that they believe that a request is legitimate. You see this a lot now. Social engineering does a lot through phone calls, text messages, as well as emails to try and get information from people when they and they lie about who they are or how they have a connection with the person. A keylogger is software that tracks keyboard use and transmits it to be used for illegal purposes. Security, computer security. So you need to make sure that you have some type of malware software or malware, anti-malware software on your computer, which is designed to combat your computer from damage or allow people to steal your information. You need computer security to keep the computer secure. You need to install virus and malware protection software to keep it and make sure you keep it updated. Know that no virus protection is foolproof. The way technology works, it's changing so quickly that there's a good chance that by the time that your malware protection is out of date, that there are new viruses that can attack your computer. Encryption converts text into unreadable series of numbers and letters to protect information. Digital encryption uses software that can scramble and unscramble the data. And a hacker is a person who finds an electronic means of gaining unauthorized access to a computer. Password security. With all of the stuff that's going on with hackers and with malware, you need to make sure that you use strong passwords. Strong passwords are those that make it difficult for others to figure out. They should have things like a minimum of 8 characters, use both upper and lowercase letters, use at least one number, use a special character, and also do not use your own name or birth date in your passwords. Hardware security. Hardware security is to maintain the physical security of a computer. Laptops, smartphones, and other devices are portable. They're no longer secured by a locked window or door of an office. They should not be stored in cars. They should not be taken on public transportation. They should not be used in restaurants, hotels, or public places because you're giving opportunity to be able to hack into them. Maintaining the security of your equipment is your responsibility. If you have any questions about the introduction to multimedia, please reach out to me and let me know.